This is the first thing we're going to teach our guys when we come out on the floor. This is called one-on-one from the wing. What we do is this. We start the man at the three-point line, the offensive player at the three-point line, just off of the lane, right down the free throw line, right at the three-point line. We have our defensive man, and we start out very simple and very easy. All right, we're going to ask the man to come up and we're going to hand him the basketball, and we're going to guard him from the top. All right, now the things that we're going to emphasize is this. We're going to emphasize this. We want to pin the man to the sideline. We want to pin him to the sideline. We're not necessarily pushing baseline. We're not pushing baseline, or we're not pushing over the top. We're actually going to try and stay square to the sideline, and if we can, ideally, he'd stay on this side of the floor the whole possession and never get the ball reversed. Never get the ball reversed. The main thing we want to do is we do not want to let him over the top. We don't want to let him over the top. If anything, they're going to go baseline where we've got more support, more help. Whenever they go over the top, it requires help, and they're able to draw and kick the ball to the outside, and it begins to break your defense down. The more closeouts I think you have to do in your defense in your half court per possession, if you got to really do a lot of closeouts, that's when they're going to really give you break you down and possibly score the basketball. So if we can keep it where we can control our man, our whole deal with our defense is to contain our man, guard our man, don't let him get past you. We want to keep him in front of you and never let him get past you. Okay? If we can do that and never have to help and get him to shoot perimeter shots, generally we can win that game. I know that sounds simple, but we've kind of got a simple goal of what we're trying to accomplish. All right, now, what kind of stance do we get in? What are we trying to do? Again, we're trying to pin him to the sideline. I want the defensive man's top foot right here to be slightly higher. So if you were to draw a line right here and go right straight across, his foot would be slightly higher than the offensive player's foot. We're going to be on the high side is what we call it, the high side. Now, ideally, we'd like to be about a gap. Well, what's a gap? As he moves forward here, come on in here, Ben, and a gap would be so you could touch him. Well, 1 arm length, that's a gap. That's when we can get into this guy pretty hard. Now, again, we work very hard at trying to figure out on our scattering reports exactly what kind of our defender is, whether it be a bigger player guarding a smaller player. He might have to give him a gap and a half to 2 gaps. Also, depending on how good the offensive player is, we may gap him in 2 to 3 gaps to promote him to shoot the perimeter shot, or knowing that he's not going to shoot the perimeter shot. The biggest thing is we don't want to let it take it by us. We don't want them to let it take it by us. So we'll get this man here in this stance, a 1 gap length right here, and what we'll do is have the defensive man hand him the basketball in this very, very elementary drill, hand him the basketball when he's ready to go. All right, so he's going to be on the high side, foot slightly higher, he's going to hand him the ball. Okay, now, the next term we use is we're going to have live feet, which is a patterning of the feet, movement of the feet, quick movement of the feet, and then we're going to have live feet, active hands, where our hand is going to be pressuring the ball. Now, we don't get up and belly to belly pressure defense and force them to put the ball on the floor. We want to play more of a containment defense to keep the man in front of us, guarding our man. So whatever that takes to do, that's what we want to do. It's a pressure defense, but it's not so pressure that we want to put ourselves in help situations. Again, we want to guard our man. So we want to have live feet. So Ben, get in a stance, show live feet, active hands. Live feet, active hands, staying down, pressuring the ball. Okay, good, good. Now, if the offensive man has the ball down below, his hands will be down. If the man brings the ball up above his head, we will pressure the ball, but again, we will not come out of our stance. As the year goes on, the better they get at it, the closer you can get these guys and make them guard you, okay? They can get where they can get a gap where at the beginning of the year they may be 2 gaps away, okay? All right, now, the only time that we will flat pressure the basketball and come up out of our stance in this is when a man has shot the ball, or 2 is when the man has not got a live dribble. Right now he has a live dribble. He hasn't used the dribble, and we're not going to come out of our stance if he puts the ball over his head, okay? But now, if a man has, say, coach, dribble the ball 1 time and picked his dribble up, we will now come out of our stance and get into him and pressure him hard and make it difficult because, again, he can't take it by you right there. Okay? So the only time we'd come out of our stance right there is on a dead ball once the ball's been dribbled and picked up. All right? So we're going to stay down. All right? Now, the next thing is this. When any kind of fake, any fake at all, foot fake, head fake, ball fake, shot fake, we will jump straight back. Again, it's containment, it's not pressure. When we jump like this, you're actually in the air. So we don't want to be in the air. It's almost when we jump straight back, it's live feet straight back, and now close back out here. Because now you go here, and he puts the ball on the floor. Now you're able to close him out. Good. Now close it back out. Close it back out. It's all about containment. Any kind of fake, you're going to jump straight back. All right, stop. Now, why do we do this? All right. If we're in this stance right here, go ahead, Ben, get in your stance, and he foot fakes, and he takes his fake baseline. Well, now you're opening it up for the man to go over the top, and we do not want to let him over the top. We'll actually take guys out of the game if we let him over the top. All right, now, take a foot fake to the high side right here, okay? High side, now you're opening up the baseline, which stays away from what we're trying to do about pinning him on the sideline. We want to keep him on that side. All right, well, the other one is, say, shot fake and leaves his feet. Comes out of his stance. Well, now he can go in either direction, and that puts too much pressure on our defense. We will want the ball to stay here. We're fine with it just staying on that side of the floor, keeping it in this man's hands, and putting some pressure and doing a good job over here, away from the ball. The biggest thing I want him to do, if they can shoot on the shot chart, shoot the ball from the perimeter all night long with a hand in his face, I think we give ourselves a pretty good chance to win on this end of the floor. With the idea, the biggest thing we're trying to stop right here, we do not want to let him over the top. Do not want to let him over the top. If anything, we can push him towards the baseline, and we want to pin him to the sideline. As the ball's put on the floor, I've jumped straight back. We're not going to get in here and use any kind of a forearm or any kind of a hand check because it promotes fouling. Whatever we do, whenever we're playing defense, we want to do everything we can to keep from fouling. Now, we want to play extremely physical, but we want to not foul. Bottom line is we do not want to foul. We want to, what I say, show your hands to the ref. Show your hands to the ref. We're showing the ref that we're not going to foul, and we're going to use our bodies, and we're going to use our feet. You notice that he put his chest on him. He was physical with him, but at the same time, he stopped his progress with his body, which you're allowed your space, you're allowed your gap, and he never did put his hands on the offensive player, which again, the referee has a tendency to want to call, especially with the more of an emphasis on hand checking and using your forearm, which they're more and more wanting to outlaw, because I think it gives the defense an advantage if you're able to put your hands on them. So we just take that out of the game all the way. The ideal situation is that we jump straight back, and if he were going to shoot the basketball, okay, if he was going to shoot the basketball, we could close back out and contest it. Good, good. And finish it with a block out. Now, ideally, that's what I'd like to have happen all night long, is that he catches the ball and shoots three-pointers with a hand in his face. All right, now, when we contest shots and we come out of the stance, when do we come out? Well, we're not going to come out of our stance and go into the contest until the offensive player has actually left his feet, actually gone off the ground, and there's no chance for the drive, okay? We've got to be able to be down and actually push off and get back into a shot when he goes into a shot and left his feet. When we're up into the shot, a lot of people think this is a contest or that's a contest. I want to be so hard into it, I want to contest the shot. I don't want to foul him, but I almost want to foul him. I know that's a contradictory of terms, but I want you to dang near foul him right there. Get your hand into it so hard that you're just really bothering his shot. I think a term I always tell our guys is this: I want you to bother his shot. And I'll even ask the offensive player, were you bothered right there? Did he make it tough for you? Was it hard for you to shoot it? And a lot of time a guy says, well, no, I didn't even feel the pressure at all. I want him to feel your pressure with with the contest, and I want to get into the shot extremely hard, almost fouling him, but not fouling him. All right, now let's put it on the floor this time. Now we're going to put it on the floor, and not necessarily an attack, but when we jump straight back, we're able, and we have an angle of recovery now, an angle of recovery that we're not so close. If we're really tight on him and he puts the ball on the floor, we now have no angle to recover, and we're beat, and we're also putting ourselves in a help position. So we're going to have live feet, we're going to jump straight back, and now coach is going to bounce the basketball, and we're going to close out and then contest the shot. So you notice he kept him in front of him, he got him to shoot the jump shot. Okay, now, here's the next progression of this whole thing. When you get down in this stance and I jump straight back and I've got this gap, I'm starting to close back out, but he goes and puts the ball on the floor. Well, a lot of times you're not going to be able to slide because he's going to be going a lot faster. He's going to be running as opposed to you sliding. All right, so the next thing your guys have got to be able to do is they've got to be able to, in a very short space, okay, in a very short area right here, have to turn and run, never coming out of their stance. Never coming out of their stance. They've got to be down. And as the man goes to put the ball on the floor, I've actually got to turn and run and keeping my angle, and I have to what I call beat them to a spot. Beat them to the spot that they're going. We're going to beat them to the spot where they're going. Okay, so I have my live feet, I've got this angle of recovery, and I'm going to run and beat them to the spot. And you notice that my shoulders are getting square to this sideline, and again, it stays with the idea of pinning him to the sideline, okay? We're not going to give our angle, not have a bad angle, and then get into here. Well, now I'm giving him an angle to the goal. And even though he picks his dribble up, I'm giving him an angle to the basket. I want to get completely squared up, and I want them to shoot it right over the top of my head, right through my body with a contest. Again, pinning him to the sideline, taking him baseline, contest, finish it with a block out. The next thing I want to talk about is once they penetrate, now you get a position here where the gap has to be closed down. It can't be as big as it is. For instance, if Coach were all the way out here, Patrick's all the way out here, well, you know, we're not going to be in a one gap situation. We may be in 2 or 3 gaps, and we're going to say, hey, you can shoot that all night with a hand in your face, okay? But the closer they get to the goal, the closer and tighter we got to get. So we're in our stance right here. It's one-on-one from the wing, okay? One-on-one from the wing. All right, now live feet, active hands. It's just kind of there. Now the ball gets put on the floor, and he's going to turn and cut him off. Okay, let's get closer to the goal right here, guys. Right into this area here. When he gets about 2 steps off the lane, about a step to 2 steps off the lane, we have to close that gap, because now if we have this 2-gap spread right here, he's got too much room, it's too close to the goal, the higher percentage shots kicks in. So now we have to get closer, and we're going to put a body on him. Put a body on him, and you got to remember you've got a referee here on the baseline. So any kind of hands on him, they're going to call the foul. And the other thing is the verticality rule. You've got to stay in a straight up and down in your stance position. You can't root them out with your legs underneath you, but you can hold your ground. And what I say is get physical with them. Turn and run, cut him off. Good, good. Stop right there. Good. Notice that no matter what direction he goes, what we don't want to have happen is get down in this spot right here, guys, and then all of a sudden pick your dribble up there, coach, and all of a sudden he goes to here, shot fake him. Okay, he comes here. Now he gets an angle to the goal. We want him to shoot it right over the top of our head where they have to go over the contest and make it difficult. Now, also, when he gets into this lane, he gets anywhere near this lane, we have to get more and more physical with him also right here, the closer it gets. So get in here, Ben. And again, we can't root him out, but we've got to be able to hold our ground. And I would like our offensive player to somewhat keep his feet moving, but move him away from the basket. Try and get him to be more physical than the offensive player without fouling. Without fouling.